felt happy. So hope this will be a positive impression among all the participants, and we are happy to have all good number of participants for the EFDP. Coming to introduction of the today's speaker, Dr. Tippeswamy BS. He is a professor and head Department of Biomedical Sciences, College of Pharmacy, Shakra University, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. As he is a known person for me, as he is a teacher, mentor, and senior for the research scholar, as he was a research scholar in Kelly College of Pharmacy, Belgium, and he completed his B Pharm in SJM Chitradurga, and he completed his M Pharm as well as PhD from RGHS, Kelly College of Pharmacy, Belgium. He studied there, and he worked as a lecturer in Kelly College of Pharmacy, and after that he worked in Siddhaganga College of Pharmacy, Tumkur, and he has a lot of research oriented work he has completed. His expertise in cardiovascular activities. He has developed so many of the animal models which is containing of natural and synthetic molecules for developing various animal models which is involved in the various human disorders. And he is a reviewer for so many of the research publication, that is a journals such as Scopus and elsewhere and RGHS, and he has more than 70 publications in his credit, and he is very good in animal handling as well as expertise in developing the models in the pharmacology. And he has worked as an team member for the coordination of IEC, as well as he got so many of the grants, research grant, travelship grant, and VGST grant for 60 lakhs. And he has guided around 3 PhDs and around 36 PG students. And he worked as an administrative, the chairman of the community services, as well as IAC coordinator and curriculum review committee member. And so many, the list is so much is there to explain about the sir. Sir is very knowledgeable, and he achieved so many things in a short period of time in the young age. So I welcome for his today's talk, that is a drug repurposing progress, challenges and the recommendations. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepa.
We welcome you, sir. Hand over to today's speaker, Dr. Tippeswamy, sir.
Okay, thanks. Shall I start?
Yes, sir, you can start.
Hello, everybody. Very good morning to you all.
Yes, sir, you can start, sir. You can start. You have already shared the PPT. You can start.
Hello, everybody. Very good morning to you all. I welcome you all for my today's presentation. Before my presentation, I would like to say thanks to Dr. B.I. Vishwanath, sir, Chairman, Aditya Institution, and as well as Aditya, who is Paramajyoti, sir, the R&D Director of Aditya Institution, for giving me an opportunity to share my views and thoughts. And I also thanks to Dr. Deepa. I think she is going to award as a Deepa, doctor. Now I am going to call it as a Dr. Deepa Rani, who introduced me. In fact, she was my student, as I told. I taught the subject of pharmacology practicals and as a pathophysiology subject. Once again, I say thanks to Deepa for your nice introduction about me to all the delegates. Let's talk about today's topic. You know very well, my topic of presentation is drug repurposing, progress, challenges, and recommendations. When Dr. Deepa was approached me to give a talk on faculty development program, which is arranged in their college, I was planned to give therapeutic drug target for the treatment of COVID-19. Why? Because I was given that lecture, and the same lecture I was taught to give. But she was asking me to give some other lecture, sir, that will be good for the faculties. Then I decided a drug repurposing. Why I decided this topic? as a drug repurposing for the present, that to all the faculties, because of, you know very well, presently what we are all facing the situation, sitting in Saudi Arabia, and I am giving lecture where you people are in Bangalore. The condition, because of all you know very well, that is outbreak of corona, nothing but COVID-19 situation. That is the reason I am sitting here and I am giving that much of problem which we are all facing because of this outbreak of corona. As we know all very well, more than 7 to 8 million people are get infected with disease, and more than 4 lakhs people have died all over the worldwide. Because of this much of pandemic, the World Health Organization has decided this is a public health emergency. We need a drugs or we need a vaccines. Till now, to say openly, oh, this is the drug or this is the vaccine which can be treatable. Till now, we don't have any drugs or any medicines in order to stop this contagious disease called as severe acute respiratory syndrome. In this way, there is a approach, there is a drug discovery that is called as a drug repurposing. If you already well established drug is there that may be going to reuse a old drug, a new indication is my today's talk. In that way, presently, if the drugs are not available, means you can have a research on already established drugs are there, their new indications which you can go for. Whatever the basic principles and procedures or approaches which I am going to discuss with you, those approaches may helpful for you people all to start search on existing drugs for the treatment of COVID-19 was my intention. That's what you can see this slide. What it says, race to find a COVID-19 treatment that accelerates, means the WHO immediately asked to go for a mega trial to test the repurposed drugs with the as a experimental drug candidates. That is the reason we should all know what are the approaches. These approaches may helpful for repurpose the drugs for the treatment of COVID-19. I am not going to explain you as a COVID-19 as a major topic. I am going to explain to you the approaches and their importance and their recommendations which I am going to discuss with you that may help you all to know various pathways. My overview of my presentation is, first and foremost, just we will have a overview of drug repurposing and their definition and present approaches of drug repurposing and the challenges faced by the repurposing community. And finally, I am going to have some recommendation of innovative way in order to get a good drug as a repurposed drug for the treatment of new indications. Let's discuss why the drug repurpose. Because of, you know very well, there is advance in the technology as well as advance in the knowledge of the disease. These two, having a technology, having a vast number of knowledge of disease, even to genetic basis as well as proteomic basis, this much of knowledge is there, but translation of these knowledge into a therapeutic benefits is slower than what we expected since from last 10 years. Means, I mean to say, the new chemical entity as a druggable are very less since from last 10 years. Why? Because of there is a industry is facing so many problems, such as a high attrition rates or increase the time for to bring a new drugs into the market, and there are various challenging of changing in the regulatory requirements. This all makes one or the other way the bring into the market is less because of costs also at the same time. In this condition, there is an alternative is called as a repurposed drugs. Nothing but a established drug will be going to use as a new indications. You know very well, as I said you, there are different approaches for a drug discovery, a molecular based or phenotypic based. These two approaches, you see imagine one drug, it has to come to market, means it takes minimum 10 to 12 years and more than a $1 billion is the rupees is spending for to get a one drug FDA approval. As we see it in repurpose, that is 2 to 3 years, around approximately 10 millions is more than sufficient to get a new, not a new drug, but old drug for a new indication. And if you go with the target identification by drug repurposing, that itself is take only 4 to 6 months. Around $1 lakh is more than sufficient to you to get a new drug, as a new old drug as a new indication. Why I wanted to say there is a time is very, so much time you required, and money is spending is required is too much in the traditional drug discovery as compared to repurposed drug discovery. You can see the slide. There is a traditional drug development. There are many steps which are involved in. First and foremost, we have to identify a therapeutic target for the disease of interest, followed by development of potential drug by doing with the laboratory scale, design and synthesis by chemistry, and we can test by cell culture analysis and by test by animal preclinical testing, followed by testing in clinical trials. This all takes time, minimum 10 to 12 years, which I have been told with a huge money. At the same time, if you see drug repurposing, here they are directly going to climb from already approved drugs they are taking, and they are going to analyze for new other indications and new targets which they are going to find out already well established drugs. Testing the drug with the human clinical trials and followed by phase 2 and phase 3. No phase 1. Immediately they are going to phase 2 and phase 3. That's what I wanted to say is repurposing approach is a currently emerging approach in order to overcome whatever the problems which has faced in the traditional drug development. That's what, having said that, attrition rate and the cost which is involved and the time which is involved in the traditional drug discovery, the repurposing of an old drugs to treat both common and rare disease is an attractive position at present condition. What it involves the use of de-risked compound. Means they won't take, is already some toxic problem, some severe problem is there, those type of drugs which they won't take. The compound which is already established and it is used for some indication, those de-risked compounds they are selecting, and potentially lower development cost, overall lower development cost, those type of compounds which they are taking, and the drugs which has to be a shorter development, those kinds which they are considering as a tool in order to identify a repurposed drugs. Even though having the low risked compound and low development cost and even shorter time duration, at the same time, even not only this as a beneficial, but at the same time some hurdles are there, some challenges are there. Those challenges are called as technological problem as well as regulatory challenges. That also has to be addressed during the repurpose, which I am going to address to you all next coming slide. What I wanted to discuss with you all, I am going to start to explain to you the each approaches which they are used for repurposing and what are the challenges which are faced by repurposing community, and followed by the recommendation ways in order to realize a potential drug for repurposing. Just to know the definition in clear, as we know all, what is the meaning of drug repurposing? Drug repurposing, you can also call it as drug repositioning, drug reprofiling, or drug retasking. It is nothing but it is a simple, it is a one type of drug discovery also. It is nothing but one type of strategy for identifying the new users for already approved or already under investigational drugs. We are going to take already approved drugs and who are under investigational drugs that are outside the scope of original indication. They are not in what they are going beyond, not in the original indication. They are going to be another indication which they are going to use. What is the advantage of this repurpose? If I do with this research, what is the advantage? See, many advantages are there. First and foremost is here there is a chances of risk is risk of failure is lower. Why? Because already a sufficiently safe preclinical data are available, and early stage of human clinical trials, say for example a phase 1 clinical trial also available. That is the reason chances of risk in the failure is less. And fine, second one is the time frame for the drug development is reduced because of most of the things which have been already done, that is preclinical testing, safety assessment, and formulation development, and all they have done it. And third is there is a money, that is very important, that is less spent in this technology, that is repurposing technology. Just the repurposing history. Historically, repurposing is a largely serendipitous and opportunistic. As we know all, the best examples, many of the people know very well, sildenafil citrate. This was the drug which was targeted for angina pectoris, but unexpectedly they are used for with the retrospective clinical data which they were analyzed, and this sildenafil citrate is used as for the treatment of erectile dysfunction. At the same way, if you see the Satoskar and Bhandarkar books, whoever read, in the introduction itself only, thalidomide, there is some diagrams which they have given. That is malfunctions in the limb formation. That was the major side effects of that thalidomide, who are taken as a pregnant woman. Now this thalidomide drug is a wonderful drug for the treatment of erythemas nodosum, leprosium, and even for multiple myeloma. That is also was serendipity. This is also was unexpected and serendipity drug. That was history. See, many drugs which I think it may be not able to see, I'm not going to explain to you, like minoxidil. This was for the treatment of hypertension. It was used for the hair loss. Sildenafil, thalidomide, celecoxib. Many drugs are there, and there are many. They are usually for the different repurposed medications. Now coming to the approaches. What are the strategies? Approach in order to use for the drug repurpose. Drug repurposing strategy, it consists of 3 steps. First and foremost, we have to identify the candidate molecule for a given indication. We have to identify which molecule I can go for to reuse of already established drug. And once hypothesis you generated, you have to analyze that effect. What is the aim, which target or which activity which I wanted to do, that activity should be get confirmed with the preclinical models, followed by that phase 2 clinical trials, also very, very important in order to see the efficacy of that particular repurposed drugs. In order to do these 3, that is called as identification and mechanistic approach, and as well as evaluation of phase 2 clinical trials. These 3 approaches called as systemic approach, which can be used by 2 types of approaches. That is, one is computational approach, another one is experimental approach. You know very well what is that computational approach. Using a computer and using a mathematical equation, whatever the data which are available, say for example of genetic data, proteomic data, or clinical data, many data, those data we are collecting, and we are going to analyze a old drug for the new use. That's what I'm telling you. The repurpose approaches are classified into 2 types. One is computational approach, another one is experimental approach. You can see there is many books and many research journals, they have classified in a different way. Which I am going to show you is the classification are nothing but approach. The classification of approach of drug repurpose is one is experimental based repurposing, another one is computational based repurposing, and clinical based approaching. Which I am going to majorly considering is one is experimental based repurposing and computational based repurposing. Experimental means one is binding affinity approach and phenotypic approach. And computational, these are the different, which I am not going to read because of time. You can, this approaches which I am going to discuss one after the other in the coming slides. See, this is the research paper which have been taken in a Nature Drug Discovery. See, this paper which they are explaining broadly, the drug repurposing approaches are classified into two ways. One is computational approaches. This blue, all these approaches are called as computational approach, and this green, they are called as experimental approaches. Computational approaches include signature matching, molecular tracking, genetic association, pathway mapping, retrospective clinical analysis, and novel data analysis. And in an experimental approaches, the binding assay to identify the relevant target infections as well as phenotypic assay. I am not going to explain to you here the definition of all these. One after the other, each method which I am explaining, there only I can explain to you. Coming to the first one, I told you there are two approaches. One is computational approaches, another one is experimental approach. That computational approaches, what actually computational approaches and what are the different approaches are there, which we will discuss one after the other. The computational approaches is totally depend on largely the collection of data. Those data which we are going to systematically analyze in order to use as a repurposed drug. Which data? What are the data? The data of gene expression of a drug, maybe gene expression profile of a drug, or gene expression profile of a disease, or chemical structure of a disease, or genotypic genotypic changes in the disease, or proteomic changes in the disease, or maybe due to treatment of a drug, what are the genotypic changes, or what are the electronic health records which are available. These are all the data which we are going to use in order to hypothesize a repurposing. You can see, I told you, there are many. First and foremost, we are going to collect various types of data. Disease omics data, pathway data, there is a drug omics data, clinical data. This is the first step of drug repurposing, is a collection of data. Then second one is followed by, we are going to identify the establishment of target disease drug relationship. See, this is the drug. New target, old therapeutic indication, or new target for new therapeutic indication, or old target for new therapeutic indication. Then after that, once you decided, then finding the evidence for these data and in silico screening, you know very well, and general proof of concept, that is the fifth step, and generate the experimental evidence by doing some experiments, in vivo as well as in vitro, then followed by clinical trials, then FDA approval, then successful. This is a route map for drug repurposing, from collecting the raw data of the drug as well as drug disease targets. Now, first approach, that is called as signature matching. What is the meaning of this signature matching? Very simple, very easy to understand. It is a comparison of unique characteristics, or nothing but signature of a drug. Signature of a drug is nothing but say for example of a drug, they have some specific genes which are overexpressed, or some of the genes which are low expressed in the disease, or say for example of a drug, these are the some of the genes which are overexpressed because of treatment, or some of the genes which are less expressed because of the drug treatment. We are going to take a gene expression profile of a drug or a disease or a clinical phenotypic changes. These changes which we are going to compare with expression of gene expression of drug or disease, or gene expression profile of a drug with of A and gene expression profile of a drug B. We are going to compare in order to find a alternative for the repurpose of drugs. Nothing but a comparison of unique characteristics of or a signature of the drug against the another drug, nothing but signature of one drug compared with the signature of another drug, or signature of the one drug compared with the disease signature, or a clinical phenotype, nothing but some adverse effects of the one drug which we are going to compare with the another adverse effect of another drug, or a adverse profile in the one disease, whatever the signature profile, adverse effect profile which we compared with the another adverse profile. Means nothing but we are going to draw a final, a matching the transcriptic signature. We are going to match of the one drug to another drug. Nothing but drug disease comparison, nothing but estimating the drug and disease similarity, and drug comparison, nothing but drug similarity. You can see, sorry, drug similarity. In that, as I told you, sorry, this is the pathway which I am going to explain you now. Drug and disease comparison. This method of approach, how it will be beneficial in order to repurpose the already established drug. I am going to explain you now. You see, nothing but estimating the drug and disease similarity. A transcriptomic signature of a particular drug is derived by a comparison of the gene expression profile of a biological material, nothing but it may be a cell, or it may be a tissue, or it may be a whole organ, before and after treatment with the drug. Nothing but what I wanted to say, the gene expression profile of a particular cell or a tissue, what is before and what is after. Nothing but a molecular signature of a drug is compared with disease associated gene expression profile. The expression profile of a disease is going to compare with the drug. Ultimately, there is a negative correlation between the gene expression in the signature of the drug with that of the disease. Negative correlation. Nothing but there is a genes which are upregulated in the disease. Genes which are upregulated in the disease are downregulated with the drug treatment, or maybe upregulated in the drug that will be downregulated in the disease. What it gives, this drug disease comparison, this is nothing but matching transcriptic signature, estimate the drug disease similarity. This will allows the interference of whether the drug may have a potential effect in the disease or not. This may not be understood very clearly. I will be going to explain you in the next slide, very easy to you to all to understand. You can see here, they will be going to construct the disease signature by collecting the data from the genetic gene expression omni-based data or array express data, and by doing experiments, and there is a C connectivity map, means drug gene expression, disease expression as well as gene expression, which they are going to compare each other, what will be the effect. You can see this is first diagram. One is, that is red one is disease signature, another one is drug response signature. Means the disease, say for example of one disease, like a irritable bowel syndrome, nothing but Crohn's disease. Say for example Crohn's disease, there is an increased gene expression profile of particular certain genes. Gene 1 is increased gene expression profile. But at the same time, if you compare with that data, a drug response signature, that is a negative expression, that the particular gene is negatively expressed. And here also negatively expressed. But here it is positively expressed of the drug and negatively. Ultimately, this which will say, this is the reverse signature. This is nothing but reversing the signature. Based on this, this is the one research paper as an example how this repurpose of a topiramate. It is an anticonvulsant drug actually, but now they are studied for the use of inflammatory bowel disease. See, there is a gene expression profile of a disease of the Crohn's that is nothing but irritable bowel disease, and gene expression profile of a topiramate. They are comparing each other. You can see this is the red and this is the green. Red means down-regulated gene, green means up-regulated gene. Exactly, this Crohn's disease comparison with topiramate, they are negative correlation. You see, where there is a red, there is a green here. Where there is a green, where here it is a red. It is nothing but it indicates. I can show you here one example. I can read you. See, evaluation of comparison of gene expression signature of the drug compound topiramate and Crohn's disease. See, topiramate gene expression profile. This is a topiramate gene expression profile showing opposite expression profile with the Crohn's disease. This is indicate topiramate can be used as a repurposed drug for the treatment of inflammatory bowel disease. That is drug and disease comparison. Now, one more which I am going to explain to you. Drug comparison means transcriptic signature of a drug A and transcriptic signature of drug B. This is called as guilt by association, which is going to allow to you to understand if the transcriptic signature of drug A and transcriptic signature of drug B. Transcriptic signature means that is a messenger RNA, which those RNA which are responsible for the expression of genes. Drug A genes and drug B genes, if they are similar and their mechanism of action is also similar, this is the approach they are going to use for to repurpose the existing drug for a new indication. You can see here. This is the diagram which I am going to show you. See, gene 1, both drug A and drug B, they have the positive gene expression. But gene 2, negative expression, but both are acting on same way. And gene 3, again, gene expression is positive and gene expression is negative in the body. Means any drugs which are similar in transcriptic signature, that may be as a proof in order to you can reuse that particular drug by drug comparison. Drug A's transcriptic signature and drug B transcriptic signature can be used in order to identify as a repurposed drug technology. That is the purpose. Means, see, one example which I can give you, drug similarity approach in order to identify the potential use of fusidil in amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. See, some drugs such as fusidil is actually a rheokinase inhibitor. Because of close proximity, nothing but an autophagy enhancer. Some 2-deoxy D-glucose and tamoxifen, both are autophagy enhancer. Because of this autophagy enhancer, they are close proximity of this fusidil, the structural transcriptic signature of fusidil and transcriptic signature of tamoxifen, they are very nearby, close proximity. That is the reason now this fusidil is used for the treatment of lateral sclerosis. Why? Because of autophagy is plays a major key role in the pathogenesis of this disease. That's why they are used as a repurposed drug, fusidil. In order to do this approach, that is maybe drug disease or drug similarity approaches of transcriptic signature, they used one I told you in order to get the gene expression profile data from the diseases. There are various databases called a gene expression database or array express database they are using. And suppose if you want to get a gene expression profile of a drug, that is called as connectivity map, which were established in 2006, Broad Institute. They have more than 1,300 compounds in a larger cell lines, the drug profile cell lines there. These are the things which they are used for in order to do as a computational technology in order to signature comparison as a drug repurposed technology. See, the data gene expression omnibase and TCGA, the Cancer Genome Atlas, and KEGG, Kyoto Encyclopedia of Genes. These are some of the databases which they are used. Now, another approach is the second approach, which is called as chemical structure. See, some of the chemicals, they may be similar structure. These similar structures, they may going to share similar biological, there is a relationship with the biological activity at the same time. What they are going to do here is, they are going to select some chemical features of each drug. They are going to construct the network based on the each shared chemical characteristics. This approach is nothing but chemoinformatics approach. If the chemistry and chemical feature of one drug and another chemistry and chemical feature of another drug, if it is similar, they may also going to share the similar biological activity also. That is the reason this approach is based on chemoinformatics. Some scientists which they have worked, they are around 878 US FDA compounds have approved and used for as a repurpose, and 2,787 pharmaceutical compounds they are used for this technology. You can see there are 3 drugs. They are structurally similar and their mechanism of action is also a similar. In 2018, they published a paper, a discovery of tyrosine kinase as a pathway in order to inhibit some of the drugs called sequemental drugs. Drugs called as positronab, dasatinib, and imunotab as a drugs for the repurpose. What is that? Some drawbacks of this chemical similarity approach means there may be chances of some errors in the chemical structure. That is the one drawback. And even though the chemical structure, the same chemical structure may not be helpful for the physiological activity, may be behind the structure. That is also one of the drawback. For example, if you take a drug, actual drug which may not be effective, that is going to get converted into a metabolic, like a pro-drug. That is nothing but structure is going to change. That type of, if structure is going to change means, then that same drug which you can use for repurpose is not good enough. Now, one more approach that is called as adverse effects. As we know all, every drug is have a unique adverse effects profile, and that itself is going to consider as a proxy for its phenotype. We are going to use this approach as a hypothesis, matching the 2 drugs that can cause the same adverse effects. They are going to act on same target protein or same pathway. Means if the 2 drugs have a similar adverse effects, then they may be, they are using the same target protein or same pathway. Based on this, adverse effect phenotype of a particular drug may resembles the disease. This will suggest there is a pathway and physiology of both, pathway and physiology of the both the drug and disease is shared. This as an advantage in order to repurpose the drug. You can see one example which I can give you. See, this is the oxytocin in a red mark. Now they are planned for to use in the treatment of schizophrenia. Why? Because of most of the adverse effects are side effects of these chlorpromazine. Side effects of this chlorpromazine is similar to oxytocin. Oxytocin side effects and chlorpromazine side effects are similar, or adverse effects of both are similar. See, predicted a repositioning of oxytocin for the treatment of schizophrenia. Why? Because of a closer proximity to the schizophrenia, like drug chlorpromazine. The side effects you know very well, what and all, hallucination, excess and all. These side effects are both are same, oxytocin as well as chlorpromazine. Like this, many others also, they are under discovery. Understood? There is a adverse effects profile of the same drug. There is a signature of adverse effects profile of the same drug. If it is there, means they are going to use same physiology and same target protein. Henceforth, you can use as a repurpose technology. Next, again, there are some researchers who are working on that, and they use the data. They have collected the data from Unified Medical Language System, another author, Pharma GKB database, in order to use for repurpose approach. And some drawbacks or pitfalls of this adverse effect profile means difficulty in mining or collecting. As we know all, a well-defined adverse effect will be difficulty. The clinicians and patient, they may going to explain in a different way, and the casualty assessment of number of drugs due to because of adverse is limited to use of this technology. Now, computational molecular docking, I hope you all, everyone knows that is nothing but computer-aided drug design. What is this here in this case? As you know, many people are giving example with key and lock system. Key and lock system is nothing but a molecular docking system. Key means a drug, a lock means a receptor target. Here they are going to predict a drug and receptor binding complementation. The affinity of a drug towards the receptor, nothing but docking. One is a one target and multiple ligands because of having a prior knowledge, and one target and multiple ligands which are going to use, and as well as another way, that is several targets and one ligand, that is called as inverse docking. Both conventional as well as inverse docking, they are going to identify the interaction that can be taken for a forward for the repurposing opportunity. Doing with this, there are some drugs, a discovery of doloperidol, glimepiride, risperidone, drugs as a potential multi-target candidates for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease. And one more drug, that is mebendazole. As you know, this is an anti-parasitic drug. It has a structural potentially to inhibit the vascular endothelial growth factor as a mediator of angiogenesis. We were not taught at all this mebendazole is going to use as a VEGFR2 inhibitors. Some drawbacks, the 3D structures of some proteins of the targets may not be available, and there is a lack of well-curated macromolecular target databases may not be provide accurate structural information. That makes a limited use of this approach. Now, another approach is called as genome-wide association studies. As we know all, many diseases nowadays we are going to talk about, this is the gene or this is the particular gene sequence, the gene number 1 or gene number 2 or gene number 33 is responsible for going to cause a disease. Means knowing the gene are nothing but SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism, that makes you to identify our knowledge or pathophysiology of the disease, that will going to give a novel target which can contribute to the specific disease, can provide a repositioning of the several drugs. How they are approaching, you see, the various people's gene-wide associated genes which are responsible for to cause the disease, they are going to take those genes, and there are already globally available network of disease mapping is there, disease network and associated genes and the drug database. All these collectively together to use a repurposing target to identify the disease network. There is a because of, you know, the national human genome sequence already is well established with all of us. Using that knowledge, there is a Grover and colleagues use a bioinformatics approach to match the gene target of the coronary artery disease, and other some databases, drug bank, therapeutic drug target database, and PharmaGK database. These are the databases they are used in order to identify the repurposing opportunities. The drugs in this approach, which I am going to explain, you see, gene-wide association studies identify the targets of potential repurpose of denosumab in the Crohn's disease. You see, denosumab is basically marketed for the treatment of post-menopausal women at the high risk of fracture with osteoporosis. What actually this is the drug? It is an antibody target the tumor necrosis factor ligand superfamily. Tumor necrosis factor superfamily. This is the one of the pathway which is going to cause in the post-menstrual woman, and this pathway and this gene is also associated with Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is nothing but an inflammatory bowel disease. This will be as a TNFS is a genetic variant, has been associated with Crohn's disease by genomic wide association studies. Now there are some Senesio and colleagues, they are speculated there is a potential role of denosumab used in the treatment of Crohn's disease. That's what the earlier drug was established for the treatment of osteoporosis, but now the same drug, because of gene-wide association studies, they identified a genetic variant of the tumor necrosis factor family. Now they are going to use for the Crohn's disease. Because of this Crohn's disease, there is a this gene is also, and this is also expressed. That is the one way, as a repurposing drugs as an example. Some drawbacks of this pathway, this gene-wide association studies does not provide an exact pathophysiology mechanism. Why? Because of a gene variance. And also, still there are some hidden genes also may be responsible for to cause a disease. We don't know those genes. That is the reason this may be going to limit the use of this pathway as a drug repurposing. Next one is pathway or network mapping. Here, what is this thing made? A network analysis involves the constructing a drug or a disease network. We are going to construct the network of disease and network of disease, nothing but based on the gene expression profile of a disease or gene expression profile of a drug or disease pathophysiology, nothing but network of pathophysiology of the disease, and whatever the protein interactions or gene-wide association, all these data, we are going to construct a network in order to identify a repurposing indication. How? You see, you can see here in the diagram, a proposed framework of network for the drug repurposing. What they say, the first is the disease-specific relationship is identified by disease pathway enrichment. Multiple gene expression profile of a disease is first they are going to construct. Then second, there is a drug pathway enrichment, which we are going to obtain the network of the phenotypic profiles of a drug, which we are going to conduct, and see pathway and drug. Once the network is constructed, they are assigned to a specific pathway, and we will going to noun the drug associated with the given disease. Finally, there is a pathway-based drug repositioning is proposed by superimposed network propagation. They are going to identify the drugs. They are going to identify, you see, 1,319 drugs they have identified. They are evaluated and their final results are obtained. You can see this is the standard. Wherever there is a blue, here it is a positive, and you can see here there is a red here. This is negative or weak. This is one type of way of in order to identify the construction of pathway network of disease and construction pathway of drug, comparing in order to identify a new target or a new drug for new disease. That's what some examples which I can give you. A 67 common biological pathway which they have identified the respiratory viral infections which are going to cause an infection to our body in a respiratory organs. There is some of the 67 common biological pathway which they have been identified by using this technology, and those identified pathway can be used as a drug against the drug bank database, can identify several drugs for a potential effect for the virus, host viral targets. By doing this approach, one drug called as Pronocast, a leukotriene receptor 1 antagonist used in the treatment of asthma, and another one is Aminorone, a phosphodiesterase inhibitor used in the treatment of congestive heart failure. This is the examples by using this network or pathway. Now, next fifth one is retrospective clinical analysis. Nothing but we are going back to collect the data which is already available in a hospital or in a clinical conditions. The best example is by using this pathway. One is Sildenafil and aspirin in colorectal cancer and Roloxifene in breast cancer. These are going and referring the patient data as well as the drug data as well as the clinical data as well as adverse effect data which was already deposited in the hospital and deposited in the various database, and we are going to analyze these data by a systemic approach can be used as a drug repurposing opportunity. You can see those data, what is called as retrospective clinical data, are nothing but electronic health records, are post-marketing surveillance data, are clinical data. These data are maybe structured or unstructured data. Structured means, you know, diagnostic data by using a maybe X-ray or maybe MRI. They are valid, solid proof, and as well as pathophysiological data and laboratory test for and drug prescribing. These are all structured, and unstructured means clinical description of a patient, symptoms and signs of a data. These are also one of the important for defining the phenotypic of a disease. And these data, structured or unstructured clinical data, may helpful for or as a good source for identifying the drug repurposing. In doing with that approach, see metformin, using the electronic medical health records, the metformin was associated with, you see, remember, metformin is, you know very well, it is a type 2 diabetes drug, nothing but one way of insulin sensitizer also. This was associated with a decreased mortality after a cancer diagnosis compared with diabetic cancer patients or diabetic cancer patients on metformin, and compared with non-diabetic cancer patients not on metformin, because of electronic data with patient electronic data, nothing but structured or unstructured data may helpful in order to identify as a repurposed drug. One more, by using that approach, a terbutaline sulfate as an antihistaminic was a promising candidate for the treatment of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. These are some of the databases which they have used for to understand and to find out the drug repurpose by using clinical retrospective data. And what are the greater challenges of this pathway? Assessing and using electronic health data, including it may, you know very well, it may be a patient personal data. Ethical and legal obstacles can limit this use of this approach, and difficulty in extracting the unstructured information, and maybe post-marketing surveillance data and clinical trials data are limited because of it is a confidentiality reason they won't disclose. That means also one of the hindrance in approaching this pathway. Now, next one is novel source of data for drug repurposing. You know very well, high throughput screening by using an immortalized human cancer cell. They are targeting various drugs in order to identify a molecular features of cell and as well as drug response, nothing but pharmacogenomic interactions. This will going to suggest a novel resource for identifying the drug repurposing opportunity. Now, those are the approaches which have been discussed up to 6. This was all a computational approaches. Now, another approaches which is called as a experimental approaches. Only 2 approaches which I am going to explain to you here is 2 approaches. A binding assay to identify the target interactions. This is nothing but a proteomic techniques such as affinity chromatography and mass spectrophotometry as a approaches in order to identify the binding patterns for an increasing number of drugs. A binding pattern. How the binding pattern is taking place with the drugs is the new pathway that is called as experimental approach. One example which I can give you, a cellular thermostability assay technique has been introduced for mapping the target engagement in the cells with using biophysical principles that can predict the thermal stabilization of the target proteins by drug-like ligands. This will going to process the appropriate cellular affinity towards the drug. This is one approach, binding assay approach. By doing with that, there is a one drug they have confirmed that is tyrosine kinase inhibitor, crizotinib, and another one is quinone reductase inhibitor as a cellular off-target of acetaminophen, means paracetamol. Next, last approach, that is phenotypic screening. As we know, we are all doing as a pharmacologist, we are approaching this pathway either by using a whole organism or by using a cell in order to identify a disease relevant effects in a experimental animal model or experimental organ level or in the tissue level in order to have a relation of the phenotypic changes. Typically, this in phenotypic screens is a wide range of cellular based assay, 96 well played. There are scientists, Ijan and colleagues, they have conducted the high throughput screening of library of 4,910 drug-like small molecules for 4 prostate cancer cell lines and 2 non-malignant prostate epithelial cancer cell lines with the proliferation as the primary endpoint. They identified by using this phenotypic screening assay disulfiram, a drug which was used for the clinic alcohol abuse. Now it is used as a selective anti-neoplastic agent. This is a phenotypic screening assay. As we know all, that is a target screening, identify the compounds, and phenotypic screening by using the animal model as a cell. This is isolated target, this is a cell or a animal model. That's what I told you. Whole organism phenotypic assay were also utilized for the drug repurposing. One example, a casein and choline used as a zebrafish as an alternative animal model for the screening of drugs. And around 39 FDA approved medications are used for tobacco dependence. They found that apomorphine and topiramate modify the nicotine induced and ethanol induced behavior in this experimental models. I'm going to say this is a one diagram finally to say, you see there are approaches of drug repurposing is maybe blinded or maybe targeted or maybe signature based or maybe knowledge based. All these approaches side by all there you can see, and signature based which I have been explained, that is disease signature or disease drug signature or drug signature or knowledge based target identification, adverse effects information or FDA label or disease pathway. And see here similar between the drugs and disease, the mantra is the software, or mantra is the nothing but a database which they are used. Like this, many approaches at many way, and finally a clinical development and repurposition of the drugs. Now, the problems of the drug repurposing means are nothing but barriers to drug repurposing. First and foremost is there is a chances of success, chances of failure. Don't think always a drug repurposing is already because of already well established data is there, clinical data is there, and chances of failure is less. No, it is chances of failure here is also there, and other reasons of chances of barriers for the drug repurposing reason is one is regulatory consideration, and another one is patient consideration, and another one is organizational problems. I will going to tell you just briefly. I'm not going to explain in detail about that. Regulatory barriers, you know very well. Some regulatory approval people, they may going to ask you phase 1, phase 2 clinical trials. They are going to ask you again in order to approve that. Means ultimately we are going to compromise with the time and money and risk of there is a target approval. That is the one. Then increase the time of and duration of the study, and again increase the expenses. That should be the regulatory barriers. Followed by patents issue. See, already this was the drug which was established and it was used for some indication, and that is everything is lies with the owner of the company. He may not be going to give a full permission to you to apply for a patent. This was one of the big hurdle. Next one is weak financial incentives. People are not ready to invest the money, especially in the rare and neglected disease, because of money getting back after they getting the drug. Rewarding is enough, not enough. That is the reason. That is another way of getting repurposed hurdle. And next one is organizational hurdles. Means the company or a pharmaceutical organization, the main area is not the interest of the repurposed drug. That is the one, and this approach or this target which they are using or as a project which they are doing, it is no longer and it is not a new indication. That time they are not going to spend money, much more money, in order to use as a repurposed drug organization. Now coming to that, another 5 minutes, which I'm going to take you. Recommendations for drug repurposing. I'm not going to take only 5 minutes. First and foremost is assessing the data, and integration of the data is very, very important in order to have a successful repurposing. And there is a chances of manual editing the genes that should not be happen. That is a one. Another second one is improve the access of preclinical and clinical data. That is very, very important. And followed by phase 2 and phase 4 clinical trials are needed in order to analyze the safety of a drug and safety liabilities. We have to do some safety studies also at the same time. Then followed by funding opportunity, especially for the rare disease, is very important. And finally, measures are needed to encourage the drug repurposing, particularly to address and regulatory barriers. Deepa, can you listen to me? Audible, Deepa? Hello? Hello, organizers? I am audible? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Deepa, only 1 minute. I am going
Yes,
to
sir.
conclude. I am going
Yes,
to
sir.
conclude
Yes, sir.
with that.
Because waiting for the valedictory, sir.
Okay,
So-
okay.
Yes, sir.
Finally, as I told you in the beginning, what is the purpose of my lecture? That is present COVID-19 condition, the repurposing approach is going to be helpful for in order to identify the drugs. You see, many now repurposed drugs are there. There is an example is lopinavir, ritonavir, and disulfiram, and chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine. These are all one or the other way. See, the lopinavir, especially, and ritonavir, these are the two drugs they are going to use as a protease inhibitor. This is a 3-chymotrypsin protein is responsible for the further synthesis of the protein that we are going to block. These drugs are used for the hepatic viral infection as well as HIV infection. Based on the information, now people are doing these drugs as a repurposed drugs for the treatment of COVID-19 and remdesivir and chloroquine. These are all a repurposed drugs I wanted to say and to discuss with you. Finally, I am going to summarize. Repurposing offers a quick, cheaper, and collaborative route for the development of effective treatments, and academic and patient-led collaborative research provides a successful approach for the development of new drugs. This is a very good opportunity for all of us to work in this area in order to overcome this pandemic situation called as a severe acute respiratory syndrome. That's all. Thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you for being with me in a patient's way. Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Deepa. You can
Thank
continue.
you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful session.
Yes, continue.
Thank you for the wonderful session. We have understood so much about the repurposing of the drug and, for example, mebendazole and various antipsychotic, risperidone, which were useful for angiogenesis or so many disorders we can treat for reusing of the drugs. Really, it is a very good information. You went very deep regarding gene expression and regarding repurposing of the many drugs which we were not knowing. I hope many participants have understood about the topic, and if you share this slide, it will be helpful because we have to go in deep regarding the gene expression and all, which is very in deep study. So we need to go through so that we can understand each drug and its disorder, how much it can be a useful food to us. Thank you for wonderful session, and thank you for providing an opportunity to a speaker, to Dr. B.A. Vishwanath sir, our chairman, as well as research director Paranjyoti Kani sir, and all my faculties, whoever were involved for organizing, especially Dr. Paul sir, who has taken a lot of effort for EFDP. And today is the last day, as I am not feeling it is an end. So many participants personally, they are messaging it is a good session. So many speakers, they like the way how they presented. Definitely we will carry the positive image and impression, and hope you all share the slides, which will be beneficial to all the participants. And thank you for all our faculties, whoever is involved for EFDP, and thank you one and all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepa.
We'll go for any questions. Paul
Yes.
sir. Ma'am, can we go for any questions? Question answer.
Yes. So we have a couple of questions over here.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. I am ready to answer.
So, what type of approval is required? I mean, the question is not so clear. I think Dr. Chigarambati Kistaya, he has raised the question, what type of approval is required by, but I am not sure. The question is, I think, unclear.
Approval means there is a regulatory approval only, ultimately.
Okay.
Here, for to do repurpose research activity, no need of any approval. But finally, you are going to for patenting, or you are going to approval for the regulatory authorities. That is the approval which we need in order to establish. This is another indication. For to do a research, there is no need of any approval.
Yes. So the only that question is there. Any other questions? If anybody is interested to ask a question, please post it.
Allow to talk to make it confirm. Maybe if anybody has.
So whenever you do the study, sir, it is very in detail regarding gene expression and all. I think we need to go in detail to understand so much.
This is another way of, this is a traditional approach only, but the time is less. That is the one advantage. Already preclinical data and phase 1 clinical data are established. That is the one advantage which we can reduce the time and reduce the money spending. That makes major important. And many drugs are now, sildenafil citrate itself is an example. This was the drug in 2011 or 12, I think. 45% of the market share. That is the drug which have been, they have earned that much of money because of serendipitously identified that was as a repurposed drug. Like this thalidomide. Thalidomide we never thought.
Yes, yes, correct, sir. Correct.
That was the drug, now wonderful drug for the treatment of disease. That is all due to because of repurposed technology.
And yesterday,
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yesterday
Manju,
also
sir.
dexamethasone also came, sir. Corticoids.
Yesterday's news.
Corticoid
Yesterday's news. One of my colleagues, he has used for dexamethasone as a repurposed drugs. Yes, yes.
Even mebendazole, which can be used, reused for some particular disease, it is very interesting, sir.
That's what, like this, many examples are there.
Yes, sir.
Ultimately, they are using computational basis technology made us to easy for all of us to repurpose the drug.
So for risperidone, you told something, sir, regarding
Yeah.
risperidone, antipsychotic drug. It is a very interesting. For what it has been used, sir? From my side, it is a question, sir, to you.
Hold on. Where I used it, where
I think many drugs you have discussed.
no, many drugs are there. Only
Among
they,
that, one is
yeah,
risperidone, which is
time,
antipsychotic, and very commonly it is used. Yes, no issues, sir. No issues. You can share me